let me turn it over to our first speaker, Gerald Hutt, who is the president of AFGE's Law Enforcement Committee, and he is also a member of, an employee rather, of ICE. Thank you. Gerald, please.
Thank you, President Gage. We're here today to call on the Obama administration and the U.S. Congress to move aggressively to amend the status of thousands of federal employees who carry firearms and are responsible for the investigation and apprehension of criminals, but are classified as law enforcement officers only when they are killed in the line of duty. Because of loopholes in the legal definition of law enforcement officer, federal agencies can determine on their own whether they wish to classify these brave men and women as law enforcement officers. To help in better understanding the definition of a law enforcement officer, for civil service retirement purposes, a law enforcement officer is an employee whose primary duties are the investigation, apprehension, and detention of individuals suspected or convicted of offenses against the criminal laws of the United States. And this also includes employees who promote to supervisory or management positions. And they also includes employees who have frequent and direct contact with convicted criminals such as BOP. The federal employees retirement system parallels the civil service definition. However, it amends that definition to be more restrictive, to include a rigorous duty standard which provides that LEO positions must be sufficiently rigorous, that employment opportunities should be limited to young and physically vigorous individuals. And I challenge the Department of Defense, the Congress, to deny these soldiers that they are the youngest and the most vigorous, and they need this coverage. That definition fits them better than anyone else. It goes further to say and include employees in the protection of officials of the United States against threats to personal safety. Again, these are our soldiers, and these police officers, these civilian police officers, are protecting our soldiers, their families, our installation commanders from the lowest private to the highest general. These police officers have that charge. The bottom line is Congressman Bob Fieldner, one of our greatest supporters, has had legislation pending since 2003 that will rectify the problems that we are talking about. It's outrageous that heroes like Sergeant Munley and Sergeant Todd are not considered law enforcement officers. These brave men and women aren't classified as law enforcement officers for retirement and pay purposes. Now, to add my personal story to bring it home, I started with the U.S. government in 2002 as a Border Patrol agent in southern Arizona. After approximately 5 years with the Border Patrol, I had made up my mind that I wanted to get closer to my hometown, which was, for all intents and purposes, virtually impossible to do with the Border Patrol. So I started looking at other agencies where I could find employment that would bring me closer to my family. Department of Army, DOD, Air Force, Navy, VA, all of these agencies were excluded from my job search because they are not 6C retirement covered and they don't get the law enforcement pay. And these agencies are suffering. They can't recruit, they can't retain because they are behind all other agencies with the way they do business. Enough is enough. It's time to get House Bill 673 and 675 passed. This legislation has been pending for far too long. It is time our federal police officers have the coverages they deserve. If there's anything that our members, our everyday heroes, have demonstrated, is that they clearly are subject to the same risks as other federal officers that are afforded the law enforcement officer status. They have dangerous jobs and deserve recognition. We should have a one-force mentality when it comes to looking at our police officers across the federal service. Thank you.